Of course, you and your sister, or if I'm not correct, uh, fell to the hands of some of this abuse with these people, right? And hang on, I'm gonna unmute it, and then I want you to go into. I think you said it already a little bit, but now that I got everything here, let's go deeper into this abuse because people think. I think the movie was a psyop just to show Michael in some other kind of retrospect and versus everything else. So let's go into that, and I'm gonna unmute your mic.
Yes. Okay. Yes, my experience with the Jacksons, and I agree that the movie, I don't even feel like going to see it because I know that it's not true. I know that they're not going to portray Michael Jackson, nor especially not his father, and with the real actions and the real behavior that these people are actually accustomed to doing. On especially when it comes to doing concerts and basically getting prepared to do shows like my father and the Shine Lights and the Jacksons did. Our experience, my experience, as well as my two sisters, was that Joe Jackson. The first thing he did was he came to our house, and when we were asleep, because he came straight through the bedroom door, and he took these matches and he put them in between our toes, and he lit the matches. And it caused me and my sisters to jump up out of our sleep because our feet were burning. And so my sister Trinell, this is the sister that he raped horrifically, just horrifically. But she jumped up screaming to the top of her lungs and crying for our mother. And our feet almost caught on fire by this weird, strange action that Joe Jackson did. And I remember seeing Joe Jackson just laughing about this after he put these matches in between our toes and lit them. So that made me believe that he was kind of an evil man, that he would do something like this and just find it funny, to children he barely even knew. And
Yeah,
so
I think right now, I'm always into the chats. I get someone saying I owe you an apology for not being prepared. I don't think they know you and I have a relationship, so anyway, again, I just try to make sure we do some things a little different here. We're doing a whole new setup, of course you know that. And so once we get all our stuff figured out from there, the last time we talked, and you actually sent me some other photos, and then of course I think I told you about the email that I got from the Jacksons the other day from them personally, and of course you knew who it was, and telling me not to talk to you. And of course, me being who I am was like, yeah, whatever. And because if it was things that you were saying that are not true, they will sue you. And the fact that they don't sue you tells people they should know that you can't sue truth because truth can be exposed in court. And they don't want that because they have to open up the exposition or whatever they call it in a more legal form. But we'll still use the word allegedly anyway for our own case. But at this point, I think it's one of those things to do. Now, have you looked back into what the meaning of these burning matches between our toes? I don't know. Maybe somebody in the audience can Google that. Maybe our producer here can Google what the meaning of that, and then we can just kind of go through that. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, even though y'all friends, it's still disrespectful. Look, here's what I want. I want everybody to do this, and believe me, I get what y'all saying and everything else. I'm going to ban some of y'all from my channel because that's what I can do. And so that we can go through this, because what we're doing is just trying to put something together from that. And it ain't about, I understand preparation and professionalism. And at the same time, and of course, Darren is not feeling this way. Some people are. And I get it. People spending their time watching you and all of this. But if they were watching, they can know that audio stuff happens. It really does. But I think we did a good job of getting out our backup within the process, because I could have just cut the show off and we could have do it again because we're going to do another one tomorrow anyway, and then just delete the video. But I think we did really good of in real time, and having it being a video, I think people could see in real time that we are trying to fix it in real time. And for that, but I do respect people's time for those of you who are doing it. But I don't accept the comments of people think I'm disrespecting him and who we are. So that ain't going to go down like that. And therefore, that is not who I am. And that's not, and I don't have to accept it. And I can care less at this point. So I would ask each and every one of you who feel that I've disrespected him, let me see those numbers go down. That means you got off the channel and you're gone. And then we will go with that. And as we get better at what we're doing in our new studio, we will improve that from here. So, Darren, let's continue. And I'm gonna turn your mic back on in just a second. What my thing is, number one, is when the last time we did talk, we talked about, and I didn't tell you, but to confirm your story, I got about 3 emails of people, 2 young ladies who verified that they were being picked up in limousine by the Shawlights and Joe Jackson, a lot of these people going to these private parties, and they collaborated your story. And I thought that was really interesting because most people thought, oh man, he's a nuts, he's crazy, and it's all these things, and of course we're talking about Joe Jackson. We haven't not gotten into Michael Jackson, and we'll do that tomorrow because the photos that you sent me on Michael is going to shock some people, when they really see these photos, and when I showed Devin yesterday, he is a Michael Jackson fan, but I saw on his face an emotional thing, because these are things that people don't see and they don't understand this. And I think it's something from there and pretty much from there. So let's go into the question that I'm going to ask you. First of all, we know about the abuse that you went through. We saw this with Michael. They tried to kind of change it a little bit. We talked about this reptilian thing. We talked about you seeing them eating reptilian rats and all that. Let's get into that real quickly, and then we'll go into some more stuff. So let's go down. I'm gonna unmute your mic and we'll go there.
Yes, sir. Okay, so like the first thing is I heard my sister screaming, so I walked down the staircase to see what was going on, because she was screaming at the top of her lungs about being screaming for my mother, actually, to come help her. And my mother just stood in the kitchen, so I walked down the stairs to try to help my sister. And that's when I seen Joe Jackson and my father's fellow musician from the Shines, Marshall Thompson, holding her down, pinning her down, and raping her, just totally raping her. I mean, and she was trying to kick and scream. She was about 7, 8 years old, and she was kicking and screaming for her dear life as I seen Joe Jackson raping her from the front while Marshall was holding her by her shoulders, raping her from the back. And so that enacted the rest of the rape that went on. But
all right, so my question is, these are some strong accusations, right? We know this. And you've seen this visually with your eyes. And I know at one point we were going to prepare to have a live lie detector test. You remember, we're still going to do that. We'll try to set that up for our next ones, because I owe that to our audience to do so. Okay. And so we're going to be setting it up. TK will be looking it up. The person that you sent information, I'll have her to contact this person. Now, real quickly, we just looked up the meaning of this toe ritual, and basically it's some hoodoo shit or whatever they want to call it. And it definitely is going back to the point of some folklore traditions of hot foot rituals, uses powders, peppers, stuff like that. And it's all about initiation and hazing. And it occasionally appears in dangerous, unauthorized fraternities and everyone else. But just the fact that they were using this, and then of course I'll get in contact with somebody like Yaya who know distinctively what is happening in that point. Let's take us back to that day that you were in the kitchen and you saw, was it Michael Jackson's mother, somebody eating something they don't need to be eating? So I'm gonna unmute your mic. Let's go into that story.
So this happened after the rape. So as I walked up the staircase, I walked going back because my father told me to go back upstairs. So I walked up the staircase, which is right connected to the kitchen. So as I walked up the staircase, I went through the kitchen and seen my mother standing there with um, what looked to be rats. That it was rats, and they were being placed on a baking sheet and put in the oven. And so later on, and this is how it all came about. My father, before the practice that the basically the practice that the Jacksons and the Shine came over to do the rehearsal for the up and coming concert they were doing. My father asked my mother, no, I'm sorry, my mother asked my father. She said, "Do you guys want any specific food that I can prepare for you?" And he said, "Well, my sister, you never believe it, but my sister's favorite food is rats." My father said that. So my mother started laughing. She said, "Oh no, you can't be kidding. You got to be kidding me. That's you got to be kidding, right?" He's like, "No, her favorite food is rats, stuffed rats." So my mother actually, yeah, my mother actually had to prepare these stuffed rats on a platter, and she stuffed them and put them in the oven and cooked them for his sister and Jackson 5 and Joe Jackson. Right. So I thought so as I walked up the steps, I actually literally seen these rats which were on a baking platter that she had already prepared and was placing in the oven. And then I also seen the babies which were on the counter. I seen maybe about four babies that were on the counter that were dead, and they were wrapping my mother was wrapping these babies up in silicone plastic food wrap. And the refrigerator, the both of the top freezer as well as the lower freezer was open. So she had the refrigerator open as I walked in there. These rats were on a baking platter placed in the oven. There were about four different babies on the counter.
You are talking about human babies, right?
Yes, sir. Human babies. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Human babies. It was about four different babies on the platter. I'm sorry, on the table, on counter, the kitchen counter, which were wrapped up in plastic wrap. And I managed to be able to look in the refrigerator, and I seen about five more babies to six more babies in the refrigerator, in the freezer. Okay, and then I seen about three or four more babies in the refrigerator itself. And these
Now,
babies, yeah,
how old do these babies look?
I would say newborn babies, between a month or less older, maybe a month or less older.
Oh, wow. Oh, hold on one second here. All right, so let you all know he does have a book out, okay? And in the description of the video, there is a link directly to his new book, The Satanic. I'll actually get the name for you in just a second, but there is a link to his book if you go to the description of the video. And definitely, we want to support this if you want to get more information. Like I said, this is a two-part series. Tomorrow, we're going to go into some of the photographs that he gave me of the Jacksons, Michael Jackson, some things that I think you all need to see. And you probably can find some of these too. And then, of course, some other photos that, that he's showing that hey, I was around when they was younger, and all these things. And so we'll bring some of those up of what we can tomorrow at 5 as well. And hopefully at that point, we'll have a little more systematic approach with the audio, or I'll move to the single desk at this point, because this is new what we're doing with the group of us. And so I can set back over there. So before we go into our next part, because we'll be here a little while longer, y'all, so that we're just getting started now that we're cranking up some things. And I will take audience questions, any of you that super chat your question, that way it'll highlight, it can be whatever, and then we will figure out a way to support what he does as well. So Darren, I want to go back to, and I will just give us a cliffhanger for tomorrow. Michael Jackson was around Epstein. We got photos. You sent photos too. And and I don't think a lot of people know Aleister Crowley, and I will suggest that all of you Google that person tonight, prepared for tomorrow's part, so you can get a little more background on where we're going. Let's go into the satanic things, and where's your sentiment on that? Because at this point, your sister, all of you guys are part of this, and I have to bring up your own father. So let's go with him and what the impact that had on you. And this is your father, so you know your father. You were there, so let's go into that, and we'll listen. I'm gonna unmute your mic.
Yes, sir. Well, I guess I'll start with my dad. As I walked down the staircase again, I was just completely taken back by the violence that I seen the Jacksons and Shielites, including my father, do to my sisters. The sexual violation that was taking place, it was something that was just this. I could not describe the violent rape that they were doing to my sister enough. I can describe it, but I don't even think it would be describing enough of what they did to her. But I was shocked to see that my father, Cordell Jones, stood there and let them rape his own 7-year-old daughter and 9-year-old daughter. And I basically was very shocked, taken back, cried. I was basically in a state of panic almost. That my father would just stand there and watch this, and then later he himself took part of the rape of my sister himself. So
I don't want to bring it up totally, but what actually happened to you?
the steps and tried to stop them from Joe Jackson from raping my sister with Marshall from the Shielites. I started to hit Joe Jackson, who was raping my sister. I tried to hit him on his leg because I was about, I don't know, about 5 or 6 years old, maybe. At the oldest, I might have been 6 to 7 at the oldest. But I'm trying to hit Joe Jackson and push him off my sister. I'm trying to literally hit him and push him off of my sister. So as I tried to hit him, I hit him about maybe 3 good times, and I'm only at the oldest 7 years old, trying to literally push him off of my sister. So he starts telling his sons, the Jackson 5. I remember he told Jermaine Jackson, he says, "Get him off me, get him off me, get him off me." And I remember Jermaine Jackson walking over to me and grabbing me, and then Marlon and Jackie and Tito came right after he did, and they picked me up. Jermaine Jackson picked me up and pulled me out of that room and put me in the room next to it, which was the entertainment room. And then they pulled my pants down, held me down, and raped me one by one.
Where's your sister at this time? I know she's not out telling her side of the
No,
story.
she's not. Her name is Trinell Jones. We're from St. Louis, Missouri. Even though my father was in the Shielites, all of us are from St. Louis. So, as far as I know, she still lives in St. Louis. She used to work as a talent agent manager in Las Vegas, but she moved back to St. Louis, Missouri. And
That's pretty interesting. Hang on, I'm gonna mute you out so we don't have this echo here. See, I got to switch both of our mics back and forth. That's it coming from your mobile phone being outside. So, one of the things that you know, and once again, I've talked to you in personal. We've been knowing each other over a year or so, and um, it takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing, one way or the other. So you can either be considered the most craziest person in the world or the most courageous person in the world. At this point, and like I reiterate to people that anytime, same thing with Will Smith and Jada Pinkett with this other guy, I forget his name, but he's telling the stories, and people are like, well, they don't want to go to court, because when they go to court, you can subpoena the information, and now they have to, especially if it's truth, and so oftentimes they want to truth, and they'll do things like they did to me, sending me letters, and of course, you know who those people were, and I told you, and of course, it's some of the kids of the kids, and I get it. It was personal. It was really long. They really stated their point of what's happening here, and so I just knew at this point to get you back on, to share your story. We're going to go more into, and one of our other conversations, it's going to take a detour for a minute, but you talked about, with them being who they are and famous they were around some of this UFO stuff and everything else. Take us back to the point when you saw this particular device that they had, and these people showed up at your door. Let's go into that. I'm gonna unmute your mic, and you can tell that.
Yes, what happened is my mother was given a device by my father, who gave her this metallic silver object, which was similar to a shape of a pyramid. And it was probably about, I want to say, it might have been about 2 feet in length, 2 feet in length. And it was about maybe a foot and a half in width, let's say. And so this metallic object was a smooth surface pyramid device. And so what happened is my mother tried to show my grandmother, which is her mother, this device, and she said, "Mom, I want to show you what Credell gave to me. Let me show you what this object is that he gave to me." So she pulls this object out, puts it on her lap, and she says, "Watch this, Mom. Watch this, Mom." And then my grandmother replied and said, "Well, what is that? What is that? What is that thing you have right there? What does that do? What does it do?" And she says, "Watch this." And she touches the object, just touches it like touch, like we have a touch screen. So she touches the object, and it activates a what hologram, almost like hologram, life size interactive hologram that encompassed the whole entire downstairs living room and kitchen. And so the holograms were so big, they were life-size holograms that were interactive. So when she touches this device, this gray-looking extraterrestrial alien interdimensionary I guess you EBT or they come out of this device, and they begin to talk in extraterrestrial languages outside of our planet. We couldn't understand any of the language because it was extraterrestrial language. And so it goes from talking this ancient extraterrestrial language to all of a sudden going through the whole entire languages all throughout the earth, from German to Japanese to Chinese to African to to Russian to Indian. It went through every language on earth until eventually it heard my grandmother and mother talk. And once it heard them talk, it basically translated its language into English. So it interacted, it could understand our language. So once it picked up on what language that we were speaking and that my mom and grandma was speaking, it began to talk in English. And so this extraterrestrial EBE began to describe uh, solar systems, planets, and in this interactive device hologram, it also showed landscapes of different planets all over the solar system, outside of our solar system, outside of our galaxy, and it was showing planets that were all the way outside of the galaxy and solar system that we are in right now. And it actually showed the land, almost like we have these satellites that most people have seen, how we have GPS navigation systems where you can type in an address and it slowly moves on. It goes from the space all the way through the sky, all the way to the actual address or whatever the location that you sit. So it actually showed from space, and the hologram moved all the way from space into the atmosphere of each planet, It's showing the landscape, whether it be what I remember seeing is like a almost a beach landscape. It looked like a beach. It had oceans, and it was showing the landscape of these different planets.
All right, so I have to
Oh,
hang on a
hang on a
second here.
second.
Um I'm gonna push back just a little bit for a second. You were how old at this time?
That time I was about 7 or 8 years old.
All right, so for 7 and 8 years old, that's a lot of memory. I'm sure my audience is thinking that, that's a lot of memory, a lot of descriptive script, that you're saying, uh, pretty good detail for a 6 or 7 year old. What would you say to people who would probably have that same question? Hang on a second. Let me unmute you.
Okay, so what I would say is that when you see something like that, you don't forget something like that. It's equivalent of seeing if you were outside and a spaceship landed right in front of you, and some type of creature walked out of the spaceship and talked to you. It's not something that that you would really forget. Something. And one of the main reasons why I did not forget that is also because of the fact that shortly after this device was activated, we had what appeared to be an Air Force general, and I believe two to three men in black looking people who dressed in black suits started banging on the door, banging on the door within 5 minutes after she activated it, and within 5 minutes after this gray creature showed us these landscapes. And my grandmother was so taken back, she was almost screaming. So, which is another reason I remembered it. And then the fact that this Air Force general was banging on the door and demanding to come in and had threatened my mother and father to either surrender device or they were going to put them behind bars. They were going to imprison them for, I guess, threats to the national security, endangering national security because of the fact that this device was not, uh, I guess, it was not it was not given to us by the United States military, and it was a device that the government had not registered with the military. I mean, we were unauthorized non-military personnel with these types of devices.
So my question is, where did it come from? Specifically, if you knew, and of course, we would assume now that this is some extraterrestrial device. But why would your family or the Jacksons or whoever have it? What's the connection there in all of that? So let me let you go into that.
Okay. So why okay, so it came from my father's grandmother, my father's mother, who said that she got this from her parents and that this device was a heirloom, a family heirloom that was passed through our family. And so it was
Why is it? Is it? I'm a reptilian guy, so and I'm not saying that was reptilian. You never said it, but hell, they eating rats and mice, and it could have been possums. Could have just been old Chicago. He's from there, and they could have just eaten some possums, and looks like to a kid or some big rats, baby possums. I think people eat possums and raccoons back then, but we got the alien stuff coming out now, and when we still talking about the Illuminati, we're talking about this satanic stuff. It's all this stuff is kind of integrating, and it's really now it's a challenge, to kind of classify all these things. And it just looked like we just have all this dimensional crap coming along. But let's go back. Have you done any research to your family history? Blood types and your blood type, anyone else's blood type, to say the least of what's happening there. And I'm gonna unmute your mic.
well, okay, yes, I have. My mother, starting with my mother. My mother has an O type blood. And I found this out. I did not know that her blood was like that until right, say a month or two before she died. She had a kidney disorder, and I offered to donate one of my kidneys to my mother, and she says, "No, Darren, you can't do that because I have an O type blood, and it's a very rare blood, and the doctors told me that I could not receive blood or transfusions from someone outside of my blood type, which is one of the rarest blood types in the world." So that's how I found
And your blood type is what?
um, I want to say a B type. I want to say B. But my mother definitely has a blood type of a O positive or O negative blood. That's what she has. And then my father, um, I'm not sure what his blood type is. I'm not going to tell you that, but I know that she has an O blood type, which is one of the rarest blood types in the world. And his actual his brother, which is kind of strange enough. I was this is another aspect of this story, but my family is on my father's side. My family is very, very, very greedy people, and to a strange and bizarre extent. Okay, so one time, my aunt was involved in a kidnapping of me and my sister after we got a trust fund that my father established for us following the concert, which he did the satanic ritual at. And he even had to sign a contract, a contract in blood, and he made with the record company of Bronze Records. They made him sign his name in blood in this blood oath contract, and they made all three of them, me and my two sisters, all three of us, they made us sign a contract on it. We actually had to sign with him, and my mother had to sign with him as well on this contract written in blood. So I noticed that upon meeting his brother, this guy was standing something like 7 foot, over 7 feet tall, well over 7 feet tall, and it was, huh? It was the strange.
Now, I just muted you out. You were saying, um, most of the time we talk about the men in black, but I'm gonna go back to the blood thing here. So we do have all the blood types here, O positive, and they have it list on how many people within our United States region. O positive is about 38% of the people. O negative is about 7 to 14%. A is about 34%. A negative is about A. B, as you said, your blood is 8% of the population, which is, rare. And then B negative is 3%. And then A, B is 2, and A, B negative is 1%. Now, we all know RH negative exists. We ain't going to even get into that. But at this point, it appears your grandmother could have been correct, or mother, at this point, that, the blood type looks to be a little rare there. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think my blood type was a B negative, I believe. But um, so my uncle stood over 7 feet tall, over 7 feet tall, and it's unbelievable the height of this man, right? So his sons, who I met when I was in college, I'm about 6'1", 6 foot, maybe 6'2", about 6'2", and so his sons towers over me, towers. They have to be like, he's like 6'5", 6 foot taller than that, like 6'6", 6'7", his son, and weighs about 500 and some odd pounds. So the size of my father's brothers are just ridiculous, 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 ridiculous.
Now, would you say these are giants? I mean, everybody's talking about, people think giants are 8 and 10 feet, but they will be considered that at seven. I would say 7, 8, 9 feet, or 8 feet, seven. But 500 pounds. That is where that giant stuff really comes into. So, what do you think about that?
Oh, I mean, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I seen one of his nephews lately when I was in Detroit. This guy was so tall he had to bend down just to walk through a doorway. because I was in the restaurant buying food, and here comes his nephew walking through the fish restaurant, and this guy was so tall he had to bend down just to walk through the door. And the door was almost 8 feet, right? The average door is 8 feet, right? This man had to be taller than 8 feet because he had to bend down just to get in the doorway. So the incredible size of these people in my father's family is just incredible. Incredible big people. Incredible big people.
All right,
They
so
are,
here's
yeah.
what I'm gonna do. I'm muting you out again. Remember, we have this thing. Besides Michael Jackson, which we're gonna focus on him tomorrow, okay? And let you go deep there. You know, I did have a couple of questions, but I think we passed that point. But it was how often did they do these rituals? We'll get to that. But here's what I want to go into. I want to give you an opportunity to go through the Jackson's family because you knew them all, besides Michael. We're going to talk about him tomorrow when we come back. I want you to go through each one of them. Give me a little backstory, some things we don't know, and things that you know. You know, if it comes to any of them, maybe all of them practice rituals. We know mother and father. Maybe, you know, I'm being petty. I just want some dirt. True, if it's true. But I'm going to use the word allegedly for my protection. And I will grant that you could, but since you're telling truth, then we just want to go your truth. So we're gonna, like I said, we won't go into Michael Jackson. In fact, I got a couple of photos that you sent me outside of that. I'm gonna see if any one of these. Now these are Michael photos, so we're gonna definitely rock some people's tomorrow with these. Let's see, but this is not Michael. I don't know who this is, but anyway, you sent a lot, so we're gonna go over all those freaking photos you sent tomorrow, and I'll show some of the Michael Jackson one. But before we go in that, I want you to take this opportunity and let's just go through each one of them, who you know, what you know, and are they all part of this cult thing, or did some of them step away from their mother and father? So let's go there.
Um, what I know about Rebe Jackson, and I know a little bit about her because we went over her house. We stayed the weekend over there, and I met her family. I met her daughter, her son, and also met Tito Jackson's sons from 3T, the music group. Uh, Taj Jackson, TJ Jackson, and Terrell Jackson. I met them as well, so I know them. And Yashi Brown, Austin Brown, was Stephanie, was it Stacy Brown, which is her oldest sister. What I know about her, the Rebe, is that Rebe seemed to be the type of person who has tried to change her life over a period of time, because she made this video, I think in 1983 or two or something, called Centipede. It may have been 1984 or five, Centipede. And that the video to me seemed to be devoted to Satan itself. I mean, it was all about witchcraft. It was all about sorcery. People can go check that video out and take a look at what I'm talking about on YouTube. The video called Centipede. It was definitely about, a tribute to satanic witchcraft and satanic worship. But since I met her, which was around 1992, she seems like she has tried to do a overall of change with that. But I cannot, I'm not her child or anything, so I can't say what happens behind her closed doors. But the outer appearance is that she was trying to change her life. Now Jermaine Jackson, I really can't say what till when I met him. What stuck in my mind about him is that he was very um sexual. He was very how should I say, perverted somewhat, in my concept, because of the manner in which he raped my sister with his father, Joe Jackson. And then the manner in which, because when he came to get me off of his father, he immediately tried to pull my pants down. And I don't understand, why would you, if you wanted to just remove me from your father, why would you have to grab my pants and pull my pants down? What was that for? So he seems to be, from that experience, he seems to be a very sexually deviant person. Very sexually deviant person. He was
How old were you? How old were you, and how old was he at this time?
again, I was probably about 6 years old, maybe 6, 5, 6. At the oldest, I might have been 7. So I was born in 1976.
And we're talking about Jermaine. How old was he?
He might have been about 28, about 28, 27, 28. So he tries to pull my pants down immediately. And then from what I heard about Jermaine Jackson, he was also accused of raping a 13-year-old girl. So from what I know about Jermaine Jackson, he's very sexually deviant.
Have any of these people? I mean, you've been out here quite some time. You've been on TV, a couple of TV shows. I forget which one of them. But have any of them reached out to you personally? I mean, we already know some inheritance was stolen, but let's go back to any of these people, the Jacksons themselves, and have any of them tried to reach you?
I talked to Michael Jackson's son. How you doing? That's my neighbor. You want to say something? Okay. I talked to Michael Jackson's son, BG. Not maybe, let's see, how long ago was that? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago. If that, maybe even, yeah, about 4 years ago. BG, I got into a situation because I was trying to explain my situation involving being exploited by my father's record label, and how my father died destitute and homelessness due to the record label's exploitation and his family's exploitation of his money and revenues from the sidelights. So BG tells me, he says, well, I don't have to, just because my father's a billionaire, it doesn't mean I have to help you or do anything to help anyone else. He's like, and then he says, he's like, well, I don't care about anybody with the exception of Whitney Houston. And he says he doesn't care what happens to anyone other than Whitney Houston, is what he told me. So my perspective of the Jacksons, BG is very arrogant, and I got into it with him about that arrogancy that he said, that the way that he expressed his lack of concern for the exploitation of legendary entertainers who were African American, who have gotten exploited due to racism in the music industry, and financial exploitation by management, etc., and their families. And he felt no remorse toward it at all. So I don't have a very fond respect toward BG Jackson at all. I did meet Tito Jackson's children. I met Tito Jackson. Terrell Jackson seemed to be okay. Taj Jackson is all right. TJ's all right. I met Yashi Brown. She seems, in my opinion, she seems to be a victim of satanic ritual abuse. If you want to know my opinion about Yashi Brown, I believe that she is 100% a survivor of satanic ritual abuse by her father. I'm sorry, by her mother, Reby Jackson, who was involved in satanic rituals as a musician, and by her uncles, which are Jermaine, Randy, Michael, and Tito. And Michael, I think that she was used in satanic rituals. I think I 100% believe that Yashi Brown, who claims to have a mental illness, she claims to be bipolar. She says she suffers from bipolarism. Some people might know about Yashi Brown, which is the daughter of Reby Jackson. She says she's a victim of bipolarism, but I believe that's just a mask over. They're kind of covering up the real fact that she has post-traumatic stress disorder, which comes from being sexually raped and used consistently in satanic ritual practices by the Jacksons, by Joe Jackson and her family from the Jackson Five: Jermaine, Jackie, Tito, Randy, and Marlon. I
Now,
believe.
I remember that. I don't know if you remember who I told you, one of the kids that reached out to me, and I think you remember whose kid it was of the Jacks. Dee Dee, you know, that was one in particular, and like I said, she was. It wasn't no paragraph. She gave the story. She, came at it, and on one hand, she was being kind of sincere of things, but at the other hand, it was like a little subtle warning, at the same time. But I knew it was official because they took very good, meticulous time to write out all of the things and possibilities of it all, and of course, a way for me to recontact them in as well. But I just thought it was strange, especially with the movie coming out and all this kind of stuff. But obviously, my picture is on the back of one of your books, and so it wasn't hard for them to track that down and to go there. So I'm gonna let you speak on that, and then, like I said, I need to send you that email so that you can see it.
Yes, sir. Well, unfortunately, I think that the Jackson Five did tremendous amounts of satanic rituals with their children. I think a lot of their children, in the case of even who you're talking about, which is Taj Jackson, which is Tito Jackson's son, um, which I feel is a tremendous victim of satanic rituals. I think homosexuality, they were forced to go to endure homosexuality by Tito Jackson, as well as their uncles, who would methodically rape them throughout their careers, involving um, ritualistic, satanic rituals that they would have to use in order uh, to be successful through their concerts and their recordings of their music. A lot of times they use their own children. A lot of times to bond a satanic ritual together by raping their own children and making their children participate in satanic child murders. Because Joe Jackson actually attempted to get me to have to actually slice a baby's neck that Marshall Thompson held, while Joe Jackson took my hand and tried to make me slice the baby's neck. I dropped the knife and said no. So, and then he took my sister and made her, and picked the knife up and gave it to her, and actually held his hand over my sister's hand and made her slice this baby's neck until the baby bled to death. So now it's these types of things that I think caused the problems that the Jackson family have when it comes to the emotional and psychological state of mind that the Jackson's children have. Like Yashi Brown, I believe she's suffering from that. And I think that the Tito Jackson's children have also had to endure in satanic rituals where they possibly had to sacrifice babies, drink their blood, and even sometimes consume the babies. In the case of me and my sisters, Joe Jackson and the Jackson Five and the Shielites actually made us eat some of the remains of the children. They made.
I got a question for you. Marshall is your father, and if I'm correct, so I think people needs to understand how close you were to this, and for you all to go through all of these things. But did they even explain to you what this ritual meant? Why were they doing this? And I'm sure as children, you ask why, right? Because that's our question. So, is there any inside of that information? I'm sure the audience would like to know. A lot of people, other than we know it's happening, why do they do this, or why were they trying to get you all to do it? And I'm gonna unmute your mic.
Well, I would say that it when we had to do it, they never explained to us anything about why we had to do these things. They just made us do it. They never explained to us. The closest thing I came to that was the contractual agreement that my father had to sign in blood with my mother and me and my two sisters, and then all of the Shielites had to sign their own contract written in their blood and so forth. I was explained in a way of saying, you have to sign this contract in blood, that my mother had to hold the pen in my hand and guide my hand into signing my name there. Okay, that's as close as I was given an explanation to why any of this was going on. I don't know whether my sisters were told more about this or not, but I was not. And so, as I said, but they made me and my sister eat even some of the remains of the children that were sacrificed, and I'm almost 100% certain that Yashi Brown, as well as Tito Jackson, Jermaine Jackson, Marlon and Jackie Jackson's children, were also made to do the same thing. I think this is a lot of reasons why, in a time where every time you have families that are in this type of satanic ritual membership, occultism like this, a lot of times they will force the family members to kind of be together. In the case of Joe Jackson, he keeps his family 100% away from everyone else, and I think that is to protect the satanic rituals that they have been doing. And of course, they don't want their children, their grandchildren, their children to go out and start talking amongst other people, and then they might wind up telling the truth about the satanic rituals that the Jackson Five has been forcing each other to endure. And so I think they isolate. In the case of Joe Jackson, he isolated his children and his grandchildren, and they continue to keep their family isolated for the purpose of protecting the satanic rituals information that these people have been involved with, and the level of child sacrifice and satanic ritual child murders that they have conducted, the cannibalism that they have continued to do. I think is used, that this secrecy is used to kind of keep their family satanic rituals quiet, so that no one can enter into the personal lives of these people and really start investigating because I would like to know myself what the Jackson's children have experienced, which after being forced to undergo it myself, I pretty much know what they've experienced, because their father and their grandfather made us do it. So I'm pretty sure. And I heard Latoya Jackson even state that Joe Jackson used to take matches and put them in between her and Michael Jackson's toes, even when on his own children, and he would light these matches on his own children's feet and laugh.
I mean, could that be some dance technique? Cause the damn show worked. He's moon gliding, they dance, all of them. They movers and shakers. Because in the movie they act like he was this hard trainer and go back and study, and I'm just using it. Of course, I know it's a ritual, right? But the whole point is some hoodoo. But they're going to come out with a series of things that's going to try to clear all this stuff up. And like I say, tomorrow we're going to focus mostly on Michael and his connection with the satanic stuff. And some of not scriptures, but some of his lyrics, some of his things, some pictures and Epstein pictures that you sent and that we have as well, and all of these things. And I don't think people should discount, because even in the movie they have one little scene where he said that he's tapping into something else, and then he goes, "If I don't do it, whatever this spirit says, he's going to give it to Prince." It was like a little joke, but it was right there at the pool. And it's like they kept sticking a little truth in there because they have to tell you what's going on. But at the same time, it's one of those things. Now, we're going to probably get out of here in another 5 or 6 minutes. And once again, his book is in the description of the video. So I want you guys to go there and take a look at that. In the meantime, real quickly, y'all know that we have the greatness of some shea butter here. I got to kind of give a plug out to one of our sponsors as well. And this again is the one I've been using all week, which is manifest. And I think it works for sure. I like it. It feels good, but we've been manifesting a lot of things around here. And also um, in August, for those of you who's watching, if you're in Dallas area, Houston, anywhere, it don't matter. You can fly down. I'm gonna put some on the screen for you all too, and I'll get back to this shea butter for you. But in August, Brother Dreamwise, Brother Yosef, Dre and Dreamwise. Then there's another addition. She just been added to the lineup. It's going to be called Lionsgate 88. It's going to be a relationship type of seminar. It's going to be all day. We're going to get into this conscious relationships. I'll be emceeing it as well. And if you're just looking and want to understand love, and especially in the conscious community, I will tell you all to be there, because you would know quite lately, I've been an advocate of saying that I think that there's a problem in the conscious community when it gets down to love and relationships that we all need to do. Even myself, learning and going through the processes and being more enlightening, your tolerance of different things changes. But at the same time, too, we should be a little more patient and get a lot of areas. So we're going to tackle a lot of that. If you're single, or maybe you're in a relationship, we already know the UFO files are coming out, and that's going to tamper with religion, religious couples. The world is in chaos, and they're looking to use that chaos to draw your negative energy, and it's working. And I think a lot. And so we're going to combat that. We're going to combat that as a community. So real quickly, I'm going to put on the screen so you guys can go to Make It Sewn and get your shea butter, because this is the branding there, Make It Sewn Designs, and then as well as all of this abundance, enlightenment, and sin. These are unisex scents crafted with intention and reverence, and capture the essence of each moon phase. And this is done through astral wisdom. So this is it right here. You can't really see it here in my hands, but I'm going to put it on TK and Ashe. I just learned that word from squeezing it. Ashe. So whatever. Devin, he don't want to get darker than he is, so we're not going to put a coat of arms on him at this point. And but anyway, so my book, I'm gonna list the people who all bought it yesterday. The other ones are shipping out. So if y'all know, I have my book, Roderick Martin, and I'm doing a autographed copy of it. We got just a few left, and let me make sure I have it on screen to put up the picture for you all. There we go. So any of you pick up a copy of my book here, go to roderickmartin.com, and I'm going to sign it for you. I'm going to meditate on your name and just send you a little quick note. It's just a bit something about you special for you, but it also support what we're doing here at the show as we're moving into our studios and get better and better at what we're doing. And I appreciate everybody's patience for doing that as well. So, all right, Darren, what we're going to do is give a kind of, I would say, a final thing for today. And I'm gonna go a little deeper tomorrow. I just want to, because it's Friday, I want to take people into the weekend, and we're gonna go deeper tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a different setup here. If not, we'll use this, but I'll probably be sitting at my desk where it's going to be a lot easier one-on-one for you and I. And then we'll reserve this type when we don't have a guest and we'll have feedback in the mic. But is there anything else you want to share a little bit? Again, they can find your book. We're going to promote it a lot tomorrow. Its description is in here. We'll probably try to do something with your cash out tomorrow with people. It's Friday, and if they want to, give you a blessing for sharing that story, we'll try to set that up for you tomorrow as well. And so you can go into the weekend, at least, hiding from what you're going to be saying tomorrow, So I just love it. And so I'm gonna unmute your mic, and then we'll get some final words here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to talk about, like, I did notice that as far as the rats are concerned, my father's sister named Margie Jones, her and the Jackson Five and Jermaine Jackson and Joe Jackson, they were eating these rats, these stuffed rats, and I managed to walk in the room and catch my aunt eating these rats with the Jacksons. and she opened her mouth to such a level. It was something that you would see in the movie V's. If anybody ever, I'm pretty sure people seen that movie, the movie V's, where this lady opens her mouth. The leader of the V's, opens her mouth so wide, and what it looked like to me is that she almost detached her jaw, because I could not even open my mouth that wide. I mean, her mouth was so wide, it looked like she literally detached her jaw, and I seen her jaw actually drop like a snake's jaw would drop, like a snake or a reptile would detach their mouth in order to swallow Lord prey. And she took this rat, this live rat, which was about 9 inches long. It was a white rat, and she literally held it by its tail as it moved around, and she swallowed it. As the rat moved down her throat, it was moving around down her throat at the same time as she swallows the rat slowly. You literally can see the indentation of the rat coming, moving around in her throat as she swallowed it. And so I seen the Jacksons also eat these stuffed rats, and they were eating these rats as if they were chicken, or if they were appetizers or hors d'oeuvres or something that you would eat, like as a shrimp or a d'oeuvre or something. The way that they ate and consumed these rats and these babies was just unbelievable. I seen Joe Jackson literally pull off babies that had been cooked and roasted in the oven. These babies were put on platters and were actually put on plates and given to the Jacksons one by one, and they were given sauces that were already on the table. Joe Jackson pulls off this baby's arm and leg and dips it in the sauce and eats it like a person would eat a piece of chicken or something. It literally did not bother Joe Jackson, nor Tito Jackson, nor Jermaine Jackson, Marlon or Jackie. It did not bother them 1 ounce to eat to decapitate these cook babies and eat them.
I got a question for you before we go. Um, you never mentioned that these people shapeshift to something else. So obviously they're human doing satanic ritual type things. And so we're not going to assume that they are, now they could be hybrids or whatever, but I never got that, that the Jacksons were part of any alien family, but knowing that there were some things that they allegedly had invoked through uh, constant connection to rituals. And so my question would be, did you see any of them shapeshift? If not, this is just so we're going to keep it that they're not aliens, that are just practicing very, very deep occult satanic worshiping. So let's kind of go into that before we go.
Right. Okay. From what I remember seeing with the Jacksons, uh, what I remember seeing is that the crazy cannibalism of these children and the sacrificing of these babies. I remember seeing them drink the blood of the sacrificial baby and the baby was screaming and crying as they slit the baby's neck. The baby was completely crying until it actually died from bleeding to death, and they gathered the blood and they drank the blood. I did not see them shape shift while or after or before they drank the blood of the child or after they drank the blood of the child, but they did drink the blood of the child. Um, I seen my aunt mouth. You might say she might have kind of shape shifted because her mouth detached from her jaw, and that's no way in the world have I ever seen a human being since that could do that. Not, I've never seen a human being that can do that. Um, and so I don't know what she is. I really don't know what she is, but I know that I seen her do that. And the Jacksons were standing right next to her as she did it with the shy lights, and not near one of those people acted shocked in any way. In any way. And I also remember the Black Panthers, because my father and my mother and the Shielites were contributors to the Black Panthers. So they wanted to help children, that the Black Panthers were helping in the community. So they contributed money to them. And so they came to our house one day and gave my father and mother these sunglasses, and they put the leader, one of the leaders of the Chicago division of the Black Panthers, they came and they gave my father and mother these glasses, and they said, we want to show you where your contributions are going. And they put these glasses on my father, and they said, well, look through these glasses. He walked, him, my mother, and I walked outside. My mom was carrying me in her arms, and he looked outside and looked into the air, and he seen this big spaceship, huge spaceships just flying in the air. And he said, what the heck is that? And so he looked across the street, and there was a mailman delivering mail, right? And so he said, "What's?" And he said, "Deborah, look, put the glasses on. Look at her. Look at that guy over there. Look at that mailman." So my mom puts the glass on and sees this mailman, and she says, "What is he? What is he?" And he says, "So I'm in her arms at that time." So my mom takes the glasses and said, "Darren, I want you to see this. You have to see this." So she puts the glasses on me, and I look at the mailman, and he looks like he looks like some sort of, I guess you call it, extraterrestrial. He was not a normal human being. He looked like a some form of an alien, some form of a non-human dairy creature. But the thing, he still had the uniform on. He still had his mailman uniform on. But I could see, or they were like X-ray glasses. I could literally see that this person was not a normal human being. And so I looked in the sky. I took, and I, because I heard some like a fan sound. I heard some sort of sound, and I looked up in the air, and it was this big spaceship hovering in the air, and I seen other spaceships flying around. And I said, "Mom, mom, mom," and I said, "My head hurt. My head's hurt. My head is hurting." So she took the glasses off. I said, "What was that? What was that over there? Why did he look like that? Why did he look like that? What's wrong with that mailman?" And my mom said, "Be quiet, be quiet." And we went back into the house. So to add into the story, there is there was, and I will say that the Shielites and the Jackson 5 family and Michael Jackson are 100% aware of extraterrestrial activity on this earth. And many, if not all of the A-list stars in the entertainment and Hollywood music industry are 100% aligned with those creatures, whether you call them reptilians or grays or demons or whatever you want to call these entities that they have these bonds with. um they're definitely aware of that, because my father, my mother, and all of the Shielites were there, and then we were made aware of that.
All right. So, what we're going to do is end this for today. And it's going to take us a while to break some of this stuff down. I'll call you on the phone later tonight, and we'll go over what we're going to talk about tomorrow, because what you just described there is like the movie They Live. I'm like, whoa, we've seen the movie and everything else, and just trying to make sure people don't put two to two together and thinking that's what you're talking about too. But the other point, or what, similar to that, right? So what we're going to do is, yeah, we're going to get on off of here. We're already kind of an hour or so behind, and then I'm going to edit the first part of this out that we was going through our audio thing. I can't really get to that until tomorrow. YouTube have to process it. But tomorrow we'll be in a little different setting. I'll probably be at my desk 101, and then we can kind of go from there. So anyway, I appreciate you coming on, but we're going to go deep tomorrow. We're going to focus on the King of Pop a little bit tomorrow, and show some photos that I think some people might want to see, some of his lyrics and things that, and from your perspective from there. So I appreciate you coming on, Darren, and I'm going to unmute your mic so you can say goodbye, and then I'm going to take you off the screen, okay?
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to tell my story. The name of the book is Inside the Shielites Music. Exposes Satanism in the field of entertainment. It has Michael Jackson and me and my sister on the cover of it, and you and I are on the back cover of it. So yes, I appreciate all the opportunity to be able to present the truth of my story to the world. And thank you for listening to me, and I appreciate your help and your interest in my story.
Is Darren Cubie. He was on the screen there. We're going to get him back tomorrow at 5 o'clock Central Time. So we'll be here 5 o'clock. And like I said, I'll probably have a different setup. I'll be over at my desk and it'll just kind of be a one-on-one scenario. But again, we're going to go through a lot of the conversation. He sent me a lot of photos that I did not show today on purpose just to get you all to come tomorrow. We got a lot of other stuff that's going to be coming down the pipeline. And I did explain to you all what we was trying to make sure that we work on some of the things that we were doing as we're building our new look in studios and was getting help from people. But right now we are being funded a little bit by the book sale. So if you decide to go to roderickmartin.com, and if you have not, you can order the book. And then, of course, I will autograph it. If you want to go to our website, truthversusauthority.com, you can download some things. You can order your shirt. You can order some gear, all of those things, if that's what you want to do. We were going to have movie night tomorrow. We're not going to. And we're going to move our time and date to June the 13th. When disclosure comes out, and we're going to have a group setting here, and then we're going to all caravan over to an actual movie theater as a group so we can watch the movie Disclosure together. And I think that'll be a very good evening for all of us to do so. Again, it's been a long week, and of course we're going 5 for 5, doing the best we can. And for those of you who withstood the audio stuff that we had at the beginning, I appreciate you. Not taking it personal as some people did, thinking and I still can't for the life of me get down with that. I just don't. I'm sorry, my energy don't allow me to expand to these type of people, and I don't get them. I don't get them anymore. How people just post some of the most precarious things on our texts and think we don't read them and think they don't need to be called out. At this point, because obviously they can see we were trying to fix it, and if you can see that. But these are people, and I'm just telling you, chaos is out there. It's winning. It's got people going against each other. It's got people, things getting on their nerves, and none of them have a clue what it takes to go through to set this up and all the things to do. And ain't none of them supplying nothing to our show. They're not even donating a penny. This is community funded, and we try to help him out to help sell his books, and he's coming. Ain't nobody giving him anything, to do that. He's coming here, just to share his story and giving us an opportunity, almost an exclusive, by the way, to do that. And least we could do is support his book. The same thing I have my book or products. And so, yeah, we have to do that, or go to our sponsor, makeitsown.com and get to some shea butter. All these things come together. But this is how truth gets out here. And like I said, I've been doing this quite some time, but I do get a little sidetracked when I start seeing people who don't know background stories, they don't know relationships, and think that you're doing certain things and whatever. And I say to my haters, and if you're here watching, my haters, you can hate on me and I don't know you, and I'm gonna still love you. I don't want to meet you, but I'm gonna still love you. And that's how we are going to do it. So tomorrow we're going to go deep. It can get us in trouble legally, but we're going to go fishing. We're going to keep the word allegedly. That's for our protection, but we'll show some photos and we're going to talk, and maybe y'all share the video. But like I said, if you want to go back and watch some of the things he said, you might want to do that before YouTube processes the video. And then I'm going to cut the first 20 minutes out, even though he said some good stuff. But because of the audio stuff, I'm going to cut it out, and it'll just pick up where we really have a clean feed. But if y'all want to go back to some things you missed, I suggest you go back and do that. And whoever buys the book today and support us or him, but us particularly as well, I'm going to give a list and a shout out personally to the people who bought last night and the people who do this today. We have 6 books left on his table. I would like to have shipped them all out and then personally autograph those to everyone. So anyway, with peace and love, peace and blessings, And I love you if you haven't been told that in any of you. And therefore, love is out there for all of us. And I think wherever type of love you're looking for is there. But I will give you the stark warning and tell you that with all that is coming up, all of this religious stuff, alien stuff, demonic stuff, man, we got to find love. Everybody got to get close to love as close as you can to make those bonds and work together, because we're going to get bombarded by some stuff in the next 6 months, and it's going to tear some people up. That's all I know. I sense it. They're preparing for it. And if they starting at the top with religion, you already know they're going hard. They're going hard. And so I love you. Appreciate each and every one. And see y'all tomorrow.